better known Mr. Ron Godaert, better known as Ron, talks about his success story in the Amway business at the Regional Amway Convention in Minneapolis on November 7, 1964, in front of an audience of 1,500 Amway distributors, among them some 30 other direct distributors of Amway products. Ron and Jeannie Godaert at this time are holding the Gold Ruby recognition pin. He is being introduced by Mr. Richard DeVos, President of the Amway Corporation.
Now we're going to go to the first speaker this morning, a person who has been in this business for quite a period of time, done an outstanding job, will get another award later today, so we won't give you too much information on him at this time. But it's a pleasure to present to you the first speaker of the morning from White Bear Lake, Minnesota, Ron Godaert. Ron?
Thank you, Rich, and good morning all, and welcome to the triplet cities of White Bear Lake, St. Paul, and Minneapolis. We have an announcement to make. You probably read in the anagram already that Rich was the proud father of his number 5, but I think you people here ought to let him hear it once again. Rich, why don't you take a bow? I don't believe it.
Don't start guessing ahead.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Oh, well. He's just saying that because we're expecting number 5. He's the number 4. You know, it's awfully early for a speaking engagement. I usually don't take them that early. I don't quit smoking, not quit coughing from smoking until 12 o'clock. Is that it? Last year we had a lot of laughs. And I think we'll have a few stories this year. Somebody, before I came over here, told me that little girls count on their fingers and big girls count on their legs. But they also told me that the amateur relies on his jokes and that the pro relies on his ideas. So I'm going to try to give you a bit of a mixture of both today so that we have a little bit of fun and at the same time we can converse about some intelligible ideas. Incidentally, how many of you know me or know of me? Stick up your hand. Thank you. I should have known that before November 3rd. It makes little sense for me to tell you my story again, doesn't it? But I will tell you a story I think that you'll like just as much. I'm going to talk to you about a guy, maybe you've met him, who came over here 8 years ago, who didn't have any money, who spoke very poor English, who didn't know a single soul in the United States except for his wife, who didn't know a single street in Minneapolis or St. Paul, who didn't have a car, who didn't have a job. So he set out to find a job. And he didn't have a car, so he walked 25 miles a day for 3 days to land a job only a half a mile from his apartment on the 3rd day. Strange thing, though. At the same time that he was looking for a job, some 10,000 Twin Cityans were out of work and looking for jobs. And they had cars, and they couldn't find a job. So this fellow started as a serviceman for a large concern in town here. He took calls on the bus with 2 heavy grips because he didn't have a car, and they told him it couldn't be done, but he did it. He got an education, and he got an old clunker. He got a raise, and in 1 year he was promoted to manager of the service department of this same large concern. Made good money, between $600 and $900 a month, depending on how hard he worked. Then he got sick. He got terribly sick. You know, one of those dreadful diseases that you just hear about because the AMA, that's the American Medical Association, advertises them on the radio. And he spent some $5,000 that he didn't have on doctors and hospitals and what have you. Then he was laid up for another 2 years. The bills were staring him in the face. And people understand for a while, but they don't understand forever. And he tried a few things that didn't work, didn't have the courage. And then he signed up in Amway, and that was 2.5 years ago. And he signed up under LBJ. That stands for Lillian B. Johnson. In your heart, you know she's right. That was March of 1962. We started paying our bills, and in March of 1963, you know it's our story, there is no secret to this. In March of 1963, we became direct distributors. That's only 2.5 years ago that we started. In March of 1964, we had 2 DVDs under our sponsorship. But before Christmas rolled around, we were able to write a check for an airplane ticket for our entire family to go back to Europe, which I had never thought I could do. And folks, this could easily be the end of the speech. The story, even though it may be human interest story, and a lot of you are carrying it and blowing it out of proportion, don't do that. That's not true. I didn't have but a dime and borrowed 90 cents to pay for my membership. You know that's not true. But what is important is what we've learned from living that story. And these are some of the things that I would like to share with you today. And I must tell you that this is the very first time that I've told this story to an audience of this nature. Because it must look an awful lot like we're bragging up here. And believe me, if it wasn't for the sharing part, we wouldn't even touch on it. You may ask yourself, what makes a man successful? Let's look at Rich, let's look at Jerry Johnson, let's look at anybody here who we think, in our norms of success, that is successful. What makes a man successful? Is it the red coat he was wearing last night, or the smile on his face? Is it his diligence, his hard work? Is it because he has a good wife or a good job? Or just because the situation is right? Because everything he touches turns to gold? Is that why a man is successful? Maybe all of these things are important. I don't know. Neither do you. What we're talking about is that success comes in fragments. It comes in pieces that you have to put together like a puzzle. So if you point at somebody and say, why were you successful? He said, dear sir, I was successful because, and he gives you one line. You know this is not true. There are a lot of things that go into success. So success is fragmentary. It wasn't so long ago that I was still talking about electrical for electrical and mechanical for mechanical. Did you know we have a nickel like that? I know it's fragmentary. And that's what I'm going to ask you to do while I'm speaking. I'm going to ask you, and this is a very unusual situation, to pick up the fragments of what I believe made us successful. I'm going to tell you right now you couldn't duplicate it because you got to be sick to do it. Success breeds success, so they say. Well, I can assure you that in normal norms of successful living, you point at a person, he's usually flashing his dough. Well, I've gotten away from believing that success in this fashion breeds success. Because when we started, we certainly weren't successful. We were destitute at the time. And within 6 weeks, we had signed up 3 people, and there were 3 destitutes, and they're sitting in the audience today. There was Aggie's Astros. She's sitting right in front of me here. Her dance all collapsed. She didn't have a thing. There was Tony, who had plenty of problems at the time. Then there was a fellow who couldn't even breathe because his head was under the water already. If this doesn't point out that success as a mental attitude, nothing will ever tell you this. Success is just up here. And then you transform it into action, into power, into success, you see. You have to flash your dough to show somebody that you're successful in Amway? Oh, we couldn't. You know we couldn't. So how do we go about it? How do we go about telling people that we're successful? Well, I'll tell you one little trick that we learned real early in our Amway career, and that's to never talk about the negative things. You just talk about the good things, you see. You don't have to emphasize that you had a lousy meeting, or that the volume was poor, or talk about your ailments and your pains, or the bad breaks you had. Why do you talk about those things? They haven't got a thing to do with Amway. It's just conversation, yakety yak, 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 yak. Somebody's got to say something. And to this day, I will challenge anybody in that room to say to me that they've ever heard me say, boy, I feel lousy today. I don't feel good. Is there anybody? Of course not, because that's the only weapon that we had to show success, as not to talk about failure. And why don't you people get started on this? That's great. That's tremendously great. Forget about your failures. People come up to me and they say, Ron, how are you? And I know darn well they mean, Ron, do you feel any pain? Ron, is it hard to walk? Isn't it? I know darn well they mean that. But I say, I feel fine. I always say that, don't I? You know why I say that? I feel fine up here. I feel fine because I got a lot of fine ideas. I see tremendous opportunities. I see possibilities. I feel fine because I feel fine. I make myself feel fine. It's none of your business if I have pain. If I start to complain. Isn't that right, Ray? I'll tell you the result of this. The result of this attitude is that just the four of us, after we got started, developed $4,600 volume within 6 weeks. Destitutes. Leftover. $4,600. But you know something? If you get in the spirit, you can do that. Tomorrow. Anytime. Now. It doesn't make any difference. Just forget about the dog, you know, and this and that. Put your mind to work. Get a good mental picture of what it's all about. And you're in business. Talking about mental attitude, 2 years ago in Albert Lee, Rich told us, it was a gathering like this, that to be in Amway, you have to be a little squirrely or nutty. And I've never been the same since. We've also learned to take things gracefully and to be thankful. It pays. It pays to be thankful. We're thankful for Amway. I don't have to tell you. I mean, it's written all over our faces. We're also thankful for a varied amount of things that we can't even put our finger on at times. We're just thankful to be around. We're thankful for all the blessings we have. And we're even thankful for pain. You ever think of that? If you're like me, you're numb. Not just up here, but all over. You're numb, you see. And so when you have pain, you got to be thankful because there is life there. There's got to be life in order to be pain. It's a message from the big boss up there, you see. Isn't that right? Why do you complain when you have pain? You got to be thankful for that. Did you ever think of that? It's tremendous. We're also thankful, of course, for all the activity that we can possibly cram in a day safely. We're thankful and we're humbled that we're in good shape, that we have enough vitality, really, to go to town and to serve our community. Isn't that what it says in the 124 in the front, Rich? Your Amway distributor is a tremendous guy. He belongs to the PTA. He's a community leader. Ho! Where are they? Amway didn't write that on there, for kicks. Amway believes that when they wrote that on there. It's important. People tell you constantly, I haven't got the time. I can't do that. I haven't got the time. I'm so busy. Busy with what? With being bored. Again, this isn't bragging. I'm going to give you a little list of our activities at our house. If you think it's bragging, just write it down as a big fat boast, I don't care. We're Amway DDs. We have 3 DDs. As of last week, we have 3 DDs under our sponsorship and 1 down the line. Our combined groups total close to 1,000 distributors, mostly part-timers. We're the parents of 4 children and a 5th one on the way, and that took some effort. Honey, why don't you stand up and show them? Come on. We belong to our individual churches. Don't ask me what that means. We belong to the PDA. I'm activation chairman for the Junior Chamber of Commerce in St. Paul. I'm past president and educational director for Vikings Toastmasters. I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce for Greater St. Paul and a member of their Speakers Bureau. I'm a director on the board of the International Institute Incorporated. I'm a chairman for the Speakers Bureau of the Festival of Nations. And I'm not a joiner. I believe that we are active. And when I say we, it's because Ginny does a lot of the typing and a lot of the secretarial work right along with it. She's not a secretary, but she does a swell job. We, my friends and I and Ginny, we do those things. And I'd love to see you around when we're doing some of those things because I don't see too many of you. You'll find time if you really want time. You know something? It's going to pay you a tremendous dividend to do some of these things. Now, you don't have to join just for the dividend. This would be ridiculous. If you're going to join an organization, you join because you can do some good in some small way, maybe. Maybe at the bottom of the ladder. I don't care. But as you progress, you're going to make so many more friends that your Amway business is going to prosper on account of it. It's going to throw a tremendous dividend to you. Some other activities and interests. I keep an active interest in the field of nutrition, in the world of the handicapped, in politics. I keep up my French and my Dutch and a few other things. I speak on the average of 4 times weekly. I sit in on 5 to 6 meetings every week. And I sleep more than you do. I do. I go to bed at midnight, read until 2 o'clock. I get up between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning. How about that? You can't do that, can you? You got to punch a clock. So I get up between 8 and 9 in the morning. It takes me an hour or 2 to unwind and get all the tangles. And then I get in a hot shower and this and that and what have you. About 10 o'clock I get going and then I take 2 15-minute naps during the day. I'm not here, honey. Force of habit. And people say, how do you do it? And I have to admit that it's easy. It's easy to do. I do my correspondence in the forenoon. I prepare my speeches while I'm driving, and that's about the craziest thing you can see, you know. You know, you're driving along and you get a good idea and say, now I want to put this into words, and I got to have some movements with it, you know, and somebody's just passed and you go, I mean, I can't afford to worry about that because I haven't got time to sit behind my desk and prepare speeches, so I do it while I'm driving. I make my calls in the afternoon, and I go to meetings at night. And you think this is work. And you know why you think it's work? because you've never defined work. Work is when you'd rather do something else. And I'm having fun at what I'm doing. So I'm not even working while I'm serving my community and making a good living. I'm having fun. And that's the fun and the success that we want to share with you. It's the ideas behind it. There's a Flemish saying that shared success is double success. And that shared problems makes for half problems. Let that sink in for a half a second or so. Shared success makes double success. And shared problems makes for half problems. What do we mean by that? I'm going to tell you a story. In March 1963, we became direct distributors. Then we decided we're going to go to Europe. And we found out at tax time, just before we left, that we were the happiest people in the world. At tax time, mind you. You know why? Because we found out through our bookkeeper that our volume for the combined group had reached $142,800 in 8 months. Don't give me any applause because we don't deserve that. The point I'm making is that within 8 months, we had provided $85,680 in wages to distributors because we signed up. Did you ever think of that? Did you ever think how big the sharing deal is in Amway? $85,680 within 8 months had resulted in wages, in income, because we signed up and got a few other people going. Over $10,000 a month on the payroll. And we've been in the business for 2.5 years, so we hadn't been in that long. And 8 years ago, I didn't have a thing. And within 8 months, I can write a payroll of 10 grand. Doesn't that give you a good feeling? I don't care about my taxes. That could be twice as high. I don't care about them. This is the warmth. The warmth in figures. Figures are cold, but look at those. They're not tremendous. Just because we signed up and got busy. Sheer success. What I'm telling you is the Amway success plan. It's the Amway sales plan all over. You know, I have a European education. I'd have to have because that's where I was born. We learned very early in school over there that to divide by 4 is the same as to multiply by 25. You get the same result. Want to try it? Only you get 100 times more that way. 10 divided by 4, what is that? All right, come on. 2.5. There's somebody got a bonus lesson. 2.5. All right, 10 multiplied by 25, what's that? 200 and what? 250. 2.5 and 250 are the same figures, but we've divided by 4 and multiplied by 25, and we have 100 times more. And that's exactly what we did when we got started. I was alone, and I got 3 people, so we divided by 4, and that's the result. You get 100 times more. So what are you waiting for? We talk about sharing problems to make half problems. Oh boy, problems. I'll tell you very frankly, if it wasn't for problems, I wouldn't be here today. I could have Johnny, my 4-year-old, up here. He could handle it. Isn't that right? Aren't you proud of your problems? Aren't you proud that you can solve them? See, that's one of these gripes. Things don't go right, you know? This is... Did you ever think that problems are to leadership what the contrary wind is to a kite? A kite wouldn't go up unless there was that contrary wind. Now, we witness this every year, 1,000 times we see it in the year. We never give it a thought. We never think of it. This kite would not go up there unless it was for that contrary wind and the tug on the bottom. So if you want to compare the kite to leadership, you have problems, and leadership is akin to problem solving. So you tell your distributors to go fly kite, will you? You want to explain it to them. Problems and leadership are so close, it isn't even funny. And when we're talking about leadership, I just as well throw in something on sponsoring here. That is actually leadership in action, isn't it? Sponsoring. Because to a certain extent, you become a sales manager every time that you sign up somebody. You got to kind of help them manage their time, help them manage their books, things like that. Just start them off. You got to get them started. I was in church about 3 weeks ago, and the pastor told a very cute story. And I liked it so well that I have a one-track mind, you see. So right away it was Amway all over, you know. So he says, was this girl on a very cold morning stalled in the middle of the intersection. What do you call that? Gas line freeze up, something like that. It's fiddling with all the gadgets, and you know where it happens, you know, right in the middle of traffic, a lot of cars piling up. And she's just fiddling with the dashboard, and the fellow in back of her, very un-American man, put his elbow on the horn in his hand, and he was there, you know. And boy, she got so nervous, she just couldn't get the thing going, and so finally, she got out. And she walked right straight to him. He was kind of embarrassed because she was a beautiful girl, well-dressed, and it's not. And he rolled down the window, and she says, "Sir, I'm awfully sorry. I'm just awfully sorry. I can't get my car going. But I'll tell you what. Why don't you go try to get it going? And I'll blow your horn for you." We're making a point. We're making a point right here. This is a sponsorship situation. If you get your people started, of course they're going to toot your horn. You don't have to toot your horn in back of them. They're going to think you're the greatest guy, the greatest gal in the world if you get them started and they're going to toot your horn. Of course they are. And they're going to come to you with some minor problems. Don't shoo them away. Invite them in. Say, all right, come on, this shouldn't be hard to solve. Just throw it off, you see. Get them started and they'll toot your horn. You get to be in the leadership position like some of you, sponsored quite a few people. You can no longer afford to be average. I don't care how tall your ladder of success really is. Doesn't make any difference. But you got to be on top of it. However many extensions you want to put up afterwards, that's your business. And I know you can do it. But you can't be in the middle. You can no longer be average when you do that. And this was given to me about 6 years ago, and I believe this is another reason why I'm here. Some fellow told me, you know what average is? Average is the top of the lousiest and the lousiest of the top. And as a sponsor, you just can't afford to be that way. There's one secret weapon that I have and that I'm sure you don't have. And maybe you want to take a note on this. It's a very simple thing. I call it my morale booster. At the same time that it is a shovel to bury something, it's also a bulldozer to flatten some out. It's a tool. And it's a morale booster at the same time. When I have real blues, when I really fall down, I go to that little file folder where I've stuffed over the years little slips. I've stuffed those in there, you see. Now, if you're interested in knowing what they are, I'll just give you an idea. You want to know? All right. Don't come and tell me that I was bragging. WTTC Radio announces Ron Godaert as Civic Leader of the Day. St. Paul Public Library says thank you. National Flag Day Association says thank you. Suburban Life newspaper says thank you. Distributor Egan Greetings from WCCO, WPBC Radio from Bill Stewart himself. 30 distributors expressing thanks as a group. The executive director of the International Institute. My application as an Amway distributor, that's in there too. All right, thank you from a distributor, thank you from a neighbor. Article in the Junior Chamber of Commerce magazine. Thank you from a distributor. Thank you from a DD in Wisconsin. Thank you from a distributor in Alexandria. A note of congratulations from Mr. Bly, president and publisher of Salesman, Specialty Salesman magazine. Congratulations from Wally Bottrick. Ah, that's a good one. Boy, I just have to look at that, you see, and I'm ready to go. A thank you from a DD in Luverne, Minnesota. A congratulations telegram from Rich and Jade themselves. How about that? And another one. And another one. An article in the Belgian paper. A telegram of congratulations at our sales rally for the entire group from Rich. A thank you telegram from Wally Buttrick, from Evangeline Krause. I'm sure she's here. Congratulations note from Rudy Derweitzer. Newspaper clipping. Oh, I mean, just start tossing them together when somebody says thank you for anything at all, or when they congratulate you on an idea. Just throw them together. There is one in there that you won't be able to put in there. That's my biggest one. My doctor, 3 years back, said, Ron, what are you going to do? You're going to rely on insurance all your life? I know you can't work. I said, that's what you think. And I said something terrible at the time, and I hope you forgive me. And I said, Doc, to hell with insurance. When he wrote the insurance company, he formulated it as follows, and I'm really proud of this. He is building this business through sheer grit and personal effort, but by definition, this excludes him from total disability. Would you want a letter like that? You want to be sick too? My citizens' receptions papers are in there, and so forth. There's a whole bunch of them. Start throwing a little bundle like that together and review your successes anytime you're down. All you got to do after a while is look at the cover. And you know you've been successful before you can do it again. So if you fall down, it doesn't make any difference. Whose business is it? It's yours, nobody else. It's your success we're fighting about. I'm sure you're still going to fall. And this is my concluding story. I know I've talked too long, but I hope I've entertained you and I've given you some ideas. My concluding story is that you're still going to fall, and I know you're going to fall. But you got to have the guts to get back up. 3 months ago, I was in a tremendous spirit. I was recruiting quality people. And that week I got 5. So I should have been at my peak. I should have really been going. The last call I made that day, I came up to that house, got a hold of my projector and my briefcase, and when I looked at the situation, I saw I couldn't get in because there was a long stairway without a railing. And I stood there for a minute. The lady of the house came open and she said, I'm awfully sorry, I don't think I can make it up your stairs. And what do you say, I'm drunk? So I can't make it up your stairs with these things, I'm awfully sorry. She said, oh, that's okay, come on in the middle. But I was shook. My faith had left me. I had let it leave me. Nobody's ever heard that story. I should have told Jeannie right away when I came home what happened. I got in the house, put on a very good presentation, about 3-4 interruptions, and all of a sudden the woman looked at me and she said, no. Period. No. Blank no. And I said, well, real fine. I said, we can keep in contact, this and that. No problem. Try some of our products. I picked up my projector and my briefcase, and I walked out, and the kids had left some large gravel in the driveway. And there I went, right straight in my face. Projector one way, briefcase the other way, and the kids laughed in back of me. And I picked up my stuff, and I threw it in the truck. I didn't sell it. I just threw it in my truck, and I took off. And I didn't say anything to anybody. I just didn't fall in that driveway. I collapsed. And I nearly let my entire organization collapse. Because that's what you learn. If you stop recruiting, just like in my case, 6 other people down the line stopped recruiting. Why? Why? They need your example. Of course they do. I didn't just fall in that driveway. I collapsed. And it took me until Chicago, where a sweet DD that's very close to me took me by the arm and said, Ron, you're walking better. And I said, why didn't this happen to me before? I knew darn well I wasn't walking any better than 3 weeks before that. But she gave me a boost. And there I was, and I had these morale boosters and everything, and I didn't do anything about it. I know you're going to fall, but don't collapse because you do. What makes a success, my friend? A success is made up of ups and downs and falls and stumbles and of you. Just you.
Thank you, Ron, for a tremendous contribution. Grateful to you and Gene for your courage and for the great honor you bring to this organization. It's an exciting thing.